Get ready for Benjamin Knight Fuchs live.
Hey,
Ben, all right, how
Mr.
are
Liam.
you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, my friend? Did you have a good week?
Had a great week. Yeah, I was getting a
Good.
little bit of a heat wave here in
We had one here too.
Chicagoland. Yeah.
We had one here too. Well, you know what? Summer is going to be over in 4 weeks. What do you
I
think of that?
know, isn't it? But didn't this year go by quick? What the heck?
Scary. Every year that I get older, it goes faster. My mother warned me, and I didn't believe her.
So
That's how it goes. But
when we're like 100 years old, it'll just be like bam, bam, bam.
Can you imagine? But luckily, we have wonderful ingredients for our skin that can take care of the aging process. So no matter how old we are, we can still have beautiful skin. And that's what we're going to talk about here today.
It's a beautiful thing. All right, great.
Retinol. Do you know about retinol?
I have heard of retinol, but I do not know the first thing about retinol.
Would you consider yourself a metrosexual? Do you use skincare products?
Yeah, I aftershave maybe. Is that a skincare product?
Nah. Well, I want to tell you the most important, or at least arguably one of the two most important active ingredients for your skin, and that's vitamin A.
Okay.
Vitamin A is a building substance. It's a fat-soluble vitamin. Technically, it's not even a vitamin, really. It's a hormone. Vitamins help chemistry happen. Hormones make chemistry happen. They're no mere assistants. And vitamin A and vitamin D are classified as hormones. They actually activate chemistry.
Wow.
Rather than just being a mere vitamin, which assists chemistry, which is very important. And without having vitamins, you're going to be in serious trouble because chemical reactions can't occur with facility. But they don't have the same kind of impact on cell chemistry as a hormone. Hormone makes things happen. In fact, the word hormone comes from the Greek hormeo, which means I arouse to activity. I make things happen. Okay. Vitamin A makes things happen. It's an incredibly valuable internal nutrient for building, for eyes, for the immune system. When there's a viral epidemic or a measles epidemic in a third world country, they'll send that third world country vitamin A. In the skincare world, vitamin A is well known for its anti-acne benefits as well as anti-psoriasis benefits. And taking vitamin A orally can help with both of those conditions. But what's really fascinating about vitamin A is you can get wonderful vitamin A benefits by putting it on your skin. Vitamin A skin benefits by actually applying vitamin A on your skin. And we've known about this probably for 60 years or so since Retin A came out. I'm sure you've heard of Retin A. Retin A is a cream or a gel that has a small amount of the active form of vitamin A, retinoic acid in it, and it has a reputation for being the go-to anti-aging ingredient. In fact, according to the FDA, Retin A, or retinoic acid, the active ingredient in Retin A, is the only approved anti-aging topical ingredient that you can use. That's how important Retin A is. And in addition to being an anti-aging ingredient, it's also wonderful for treating acne. And this is really highlights the importance and the relevance of vitamin A for the skin. You get multiple benefits. We'll talk about some of these benefits of vitamin A for the skin. Before we do that, let me just say there's 3 different forms of topical vitamin A.
Okay.
True topical vitamin A. There is the weakest form. That's called retinol palmitate. And that's a form that you'll find in less expensive, less boutique-y or less effective skincare products, kind of stuff you buy in department stores and drugstores when they claim to have vitamin A. Nowadays, they're calling retinol palmitate pro vitamin A because it gets turned into vitamin A. The word pro means it gets turned into something, and pro vitamin A, it's turned into vitamin A in the skin, and retinol palmitate will do that. But it's not really the good stuff. The good stuff is the active form of vitamin A, and that's retinoic acid. Retinoic acid is super powerful. In fact, it's so powerful that you need a prescription for it. And that's why, if you're interested in taking care of your skin using vitamin A, you want to know about retinol, because retinol is not quite as potent as retinoic acid, the active form of vitamin A, but it's still got some serious potency, and you don't need a prescription for it. You can buy it over the counter. We sell it on our Truth Treatments website, truthtreatments.com. I've been obsessed with retinol and retinoic acid and vitamin A in general since my pharmacy school days. We learned about it in pharmacy school. And as you know, I worked for the Blistex Corporation and I studied retinoids when I was working for Blistex. And then when I graduated pharmacy school, I started to compound products. I just made it my life's work to figure out how to take advantage of the wonderful skin health benefits, the multifunctional skin health benefits associated with the retinoids without the downside. And that's where retinoids get a little tricky, and you got to understand how to use them. And we're going to talk about that here today. Retinoids are very, very stimulating. So you got to know how to use it. You got to start off with a low dose and work yourself up to a higher and higher concentration. You want to take days off. If your skin is very sensitive, usually if you have a digestive issue, leaky gut, histamine secreted into the bloodstream, or various toxins in the bloodstream, you may not be able to use retinoids at all on the skin, or you may have to be extremely, extremely careful and just use very light doses of retinol. And that's why there are companies now that have fake versions, or we'll say pseudo versions. They're not necessarily fake, but they're pseudo versions of the retinoids. See, vitamin A is an animal vitamin. It's only found in the animal world. So if you want to really take your vitamin A orally, you're going to have to get it from fish liver or organ meats, or what are some other good sources of vitamin A? It's usually liver and organ meats, or where you usually get your vitamin A. There's also vitamin A found in dairy. There's vitamin A found in eggs, in addition to organ meats and animal products, or animal meats, and fish. But plants make versions of vitamin A, not exactly vitamin A. One of those versions you may have heard of is called beta carotene. Now, beta carotene is not vitamin A, and it has to be converted into vitamin A. And that conversion requires a lot of enzymes, and not everybody is healthy enough to make that conversion. So if you're a vegetarian or a vegan and you're trying to get your vitamin A from beta carotene, you may not be getting the vitamin A that you need. If you're a vegan or vegetarian, that's the best you could do, but it's really not necessarily going to get you the good doses of vitamin A. By the way, I recommend usually about 20,000 international units of vitamin A a day, which is way higher than the recommended daily allowance. Vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin, so it's stored in the liver. You take super high doses. I had a friend, you may have heard of him, Dr. Atkins, who
Yep.
He used to use 100,000 IU of vitamin A for the acne, and he would keep patients on 100,000 international units of vitamin A for weeks or even a couple of months at a time. Nonetheless, I don't really recommend that kind of high dose, but certainly 20,000 international units a day is not going to be a problem. It is fat soluble, so it's stored, so you can miss a day here and there. But if you're vegetarian or vegan, you're going to be limited to beta carotene. Now, there are also plant versions of retinoids, and the vitamin A family is technically called the retinoid family. And there are plant versions of retinoids. One in particular is called bakuchiol, kind of an interesting name. And bakuchiol is gradually getting a reputation for being a vitamin A alternative. It doesn't work anywhere near as effectively as the retinoids, even retinol palmitate, the mildest of the retinoids. Certainly it's not in the same league as retinol and retinoic acid. And there's a few little retinoid derivatives, things like retinaldehyde or retinol acetate. And these don't really work anywhere near as effectively. So for the most part, we're dealing, if you really want to get topical vitamin A benefits, you really want to use retinol, a non-prescription, or retinoic acid prescription. I like retinol because you don't have to deal with getting a prescription, but some people will want to use retinoic acid. So what is vitamin A good for? And we'll talk about some of the things that you can use retinol for. We'll tell you how you can use retinol, but let me just talk about a couple of things that retinoids are good for. So why don't you put up the first slide there? This is just an article that talks about the retinoids as active molecules that influence the structure of the skin. And this is really where retinoids excel as anti-aging ingredients. See, your skin is layered, it's stratified. The surface is the stratum corneum. They call it the barrier because it's made up of hard cells. The good stuff is located underneath in the bottom of the skin, which is called the basal layer, or even deeper in what's called the dermis. And in the dermis and in the basal layer, you have cells that are going to form the barrier. Those are called skin cells or keratinocytes. And then you have cells in the dermis that make the collagen and make the high hyaluronic acid. Essentially, they make the connective tissue. And as we've said so many times, it's connective tissue deterioration that makes our skin look old. So building the connective tissue, figuring out a way to build the connective tissue in the skin is the very essence of topical anti-aging. And that's what retinoids do. They activate the cells that make the connective tissue. Those are called the fibroblasts. They also activate the skin cells, the keratinocytes, for forming a nice, hard, robust, and vigorous topical barrier, skin barrier, the stratum corneum. Next slide, Liam. And this is an article that talks about retinoids for the treatment of skin aging. They're just well known as go-to skin aging ingredients. And if you're serious about anti-aging, you're serious about slowing down skin aging or even reversing skin aging, and retinoids can reverse photo damage, you definitely want to use the retinoids. But it's not just skin aging. There's other things, other benefits that you get from the retinoids. Next slide. This is for an article that talks about retinoids for the prevention of AK, actinic keratosis, which is pre-skin cancer. And this is so interesting. Retinoids are anti-cancer. You can use topical retinoids for skin cancer or pre-skin cancer. You can use, or not you can use, but retinoic acid is actually used internally as a anti-chemotherapy agent for treating lung cancer. So the retinoids have anti-cancer properties. This is because the retinoids have an ability to stabilize skin cell growth, or really all cell growth. See, cells have to divide at just the right pace, kind of like Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold, not too hard, not too fast, or not too soft, not too slow, and not too fast. The retinoids stabilize the growth. We say in biochemistry, we say retinoids normalize the growth of skin cells. When skin cells are growing too fast, that's when you end up with conditions like actinic keratosis or cancer. Or next slide, Liam. You can also end up, if skin cells are growing too fast, you can also end up with, Liam, are you there? You can also end up with acne, and retinoids are the mainstay treatment for acne. Check this out, you guys. You got an ingredient that drives the production of connective tissue at the level of the fibroblasts, drives the production of skin cells and a nice firm skin cell barrier or skin barrier, the stratum corneum barrier. It also works for acne. It also works for skin cancer and actinic keratosis. Next slide. And it even works for psoriasis. Same idea, psoriasis, acne, cancer. These are all the manifestations of cells that are dividing too rapidly. Vitamin A or retinoids have an ability to normalize that growth. So when cells are growing too fast, or they're moving too fast, or proliferating too fast, it kind of stabilizes them, kind of slows things down. And that's why it's used to treat acne, used to treat cancer, used to treat actinic keratosis, used to treat psoriasis as well. But if fibroblasts and keratinocytes are not moving fast enough, retinoids can speed them up. Retinoids can improve the proliferation and improve the secretion of substances from the skin cell and from the fibroblast. So it goes both ways. It's kind of like an intelligent vitamin. That's why we say it's a normalizing vitamin. If cells are doing too much or too active, it slows them down. If they're not active enough, it speeds them up. It has an intelligence associated with it. And this is why this is such a powerful, powerful topical ingredient for addressing various skin health issues, including skin aging, as well as full-blown skin diseases. Now, the trick with retinol, as I said earlier, is you want to use it, and I'm going to talk about retinol more than retinoic acid because that's my favorite form, and that's the one that's available over the counter. Quick aside, retinol is about 100 times weaker than retinoic acid. And that 100 times weaker means that if you're going to use retinol and you want to have the same potency as retinoic acid, you got to have a high concentration of retinol. Personally, I like formulating with 1% retinol, 2.5% retinol, 5% retinol. These are very, very high concentrations. The reason I like those kinds of concentrations is because they're equipotent. They have the same potency as prescription strength retinoic acid. So for example, the standard prescription strength dose of retinoic acid is 0.05%. Multiply that by 100 and you get 5%. And that's why I like retinol 5%. 0.01% retinoic acid is the equivalent of a 1% retinol. The kind of retinol doses, unfortunately, that you see in the drugstores or the department stores or even in fancy salons and doctors' offices are very low concentrations of retinol because everybody's afraid to use it or everybody's afraid to dispense it. Well, I don't believe in fear when it comes to using a topical skincare ingredient. I say respect, not fear. And that means you just got to understand how to get the best use of it. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. And that's what I was mentioning earlier. You want to start off with a low dose and work yourself up slowly. So The best place to get to use your retinol products is going to be in a topical serum or a topical gel. I stay away from creams typically because to make a cream, you got to have a bunch of chemicals, emulsifying agents to pull everything together, and preservatives and water. And all of these tend to either destabilize the retinol or increase the likelihood of having a problem or an irritation reaction. So I like serums and I like gels when it comes to dispensing retinol. That way you don't have to have the emulsifying agents, and you don't have to have a lot of the fillers that are used in the creams. Gels have, basically just 3 or 4 ingredients in my Truth Retinol gel. And by the way, I always mix fat-soluble vitamin C with my retinol, which tends to take some of the bite out of the retinol. And the retinol helps the vitamin C work more effectively because it improves the penetration of the vitamin C. So vitamin C in its fat-soluble form, not ordinary water-soluble vitamin C, but fat-soluble vitamin C works hand in hand with retinol. They actually synergize each other. So the best way to use your retinol is in a topical product is going to be in a high concentration product that will allow you to use very small amounts. And this is why I formulated my Truth treatments without any BS. So I call it the Truth because it has no BS in it. And that also, not only does that give you value, obviously, because you're not paying for somebody's water and wax and oil and silicone and preservative, but even better, or just as good, it allows you to get potency with very small amounts, like a drop of a retinol serum or Truth Rejuvenex retinol serum, 1% and 5%, is so concentrated and has so few excipients or fillers, has no excipients or fillers. You only need 1 or 2 drops. Likewise with our gel, we actually even have to just give you a spoon, a tiny little spoon. We call it the perfect dose spoon, so you get the right amount. You don't want to overuse any products, but certainly not a really active product like retinol. You want to use it at night. That way you don't have to worry about sun exposure, and the sun can, retinol can sensitize the skin to the sun. So you want to use it at night. And you want to start off maybe once a week. If you really have sensitive skin or thin skin, you've never used retinol before, I would even start off once every 2 weeks. And then start off with a 0.3% maybe. We have a 0.3% if you're using Truth treatment products, and then go to a 1% and then go to a 5% gradually, maybe over the course of 3 to 6 months. Start off with once every couple of weeks, and then go and use your retinol maybe once a week, and then go up to twice a week, 3 times a week. I wouldn't use it more than 3 times a week, and I'll tell you why. See, retinoids stimulate cells. They make cells do things. But the cells don't do things when they're stimulated. They do things when they're not stimulated. So it's kind of like when you go to the gym. You lift weights. Your muscles don't grow when you're lifting weights. They grow the next day when you're sitting on your butt watching TV. While you're lifting weights, you're creating that stimulus. You're activating the muscles. Likewise, when you put your retinol on your skin, you're activating the fibroblasts to make the connective tissue, or you're activating the skin cells. But the skin cells will actually do their business, whether it's the fibroblast or the keratinocyte, when they're not being stimulated. So those days off are really important, and learning to leverage your off days, whether you're working out in the gym or whether you're using active ingredients on your skin, like retinoids, or also for that matter, like alpha hydroxy acids, which are similar to retinoids in terms of their stimulation of the skin. So you want to kind of take days off. And like I say, you want to start off with a low dose and then increase the dose over time. You want to start off with low frequency and then increase the frequency over time. It's good for psoriasis, retinoids, or retinol in particular, good for psoriasis, good for acne, good for anti-aging the skin. And one of the best places, also actinic keratosis and skin cancer. And one of the most important and functional roles of retinol is as a skin lightener. There's a well-known anti-pigment agent called hydroquinone. And anybody who has melasma or hyperpigmentation, that's dark spots on the skin, knows about hydroquinone. Hydroquinone is considered to be the gold standard in skin lightening ingredients, and it is effective, I will say, except it's also toxic. And when I make hydroquinone products in my pharmacy, I wear a mask and I wear gloves because I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch the hydroquinone. I don't want to breathe the hydroquinone. It is effective, but it's also pretty toxic stuff. Retinol has the same kind of skin lightening benefits that hydroquinone has. And instead of being toxic, it's actually anti-aging and healthy for your skin. And the last thing I'll say about retinol topically is under conditions of vitamin A deficiency, which are very common because vitamin A, as I say, is only found in animal foods. If you're vegetarian or vegan, you're not getting your vitamin A. You have to eat a lot of animal foods to get really high doses of vitamin A, the kind of high doses that you need. So deficiencies are not that uncommon. By the way, the more sugar you're eating, the more vitamin A you need. If you have leaky gut, vitamin A can be good for patching up a leaky gut. So a lot of people are deficient in this really important vitamin. By putting retinoids on top of your skin, you can spare your skin from the deficiency effects of vitamin A. So in other words, if you're deficient in vitamin A, you're not going to get the skin health benefits, obviously, if you don't have vitamin A, but you can replace the deficient vitamin A by using it topically on your skin. And that's pretty cool that you can actually replace missing vitamin A with topical application, replace it for the skin, that is. And last thing is, which I mentioned already, vitamin A and vitamin C in its fat-soluble form work perfectly together. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about how to use retinol. I'm actually going to be doing a Facebook Live here after this video. So if you want to join me on my Truth Treatments Pro page, we're going to talk about retinol. And I think that's all I want to say here. Let me think if there's anything else I want to know. We should all be supplementing internally though with vitamin A with at least 20,000 IU, particularly if you have a skin disease. And I put it in my blemish repair complex, 20,000 IU vitamin A in my blemish repair complex.
Is a liposomal vitamin C considered fat soluble vitamin C?
No, liposomal vitamin C is water soluble vitamin C, but it's wrapped in a fatty bubble. Okay. And that fatty bubble protects the water soluble vitamin C. In fact, next week we can talk about vitamin C, because as much as I love retinol, I'd have to say I love vitamin C maybe just a little bit more. Vitamin C is super, super cool. I call vitamin C the Babe Ruth of vitamins. You know,
Babe Ruth of vitamins.
Yeah. You know, there's baseball players and then there's Babe Ruth. Or these days now, you could say there's baseball players and there's Shohei Ohtani. I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, Shohei Ohtani. This guy's crazy, man. He's the 21st century Babe Ruth. But there's your baseball players. To be a Major League Baseball player, you got to be a good athlete. You got to be talented. But then there's Babe Ruth. Same way, there's, in terms of nutrients and vitamins, there's vitamins and there's nutrients. And then there's vitamin C. They're all important, just like all baseball players are good athletes. They're all important, but there's only one Babe Ruth or Shohei Ohtani.
And there's only one vitamin C. I got you.
We'll talk about that next week.
All right, looks like we got a few hellos here.
Yeah, we got people saying hello. Who's saying hello?
We got Patty. Greetings.
Patty. Where's she from? Is it Patty in Santa Cruz?
Temecula, California.
Hey, Tim. How you doing?
And Patty's giving us another shout out, some love from our friend Patty. We thank you so much for your support. We have Noreen Khan. When can we expect Ben to introduce?
She's asking my growth factor serum. Noreen, are you an esthetician? Ask Noreen. Noreen, tell us if you're an esthetician or not. We do have a wonderful growth factor serum, but we sell to estheticians. Are you an esthetician, Noreen? Is there a Noreen? All right. Noreen, send me an email, ben@ksco.com. Anybody listening, you can always send me an email, ben@K for King, S for Sam, C for Cat, O for Oscar.com, ben@ksco.com. And I answer all my emails, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Noreen, write me an email, and I'll reach out to you about our growth factor serum, which we sell to estheticians, but maybe you're an esthetician, or maybe we can figure something out.
And whatever platform that you are checking us out from, please leave your questions and comments. And then before I leave, me and Ben are working with a new form of restream. Try to pull our outro here. So we have an outro, and I'm loading it up. And there it is, Ben. All right.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe.
Don't forget to subscribe, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Check out Ben on his Facebook stream coming up next.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everybody.